So all the way down to page 10, we get to this, continued restrictions, all public and private in-person gatherings. And this is the basic section that deals with us. It also, this is conveniently the same section that gives churches guidance on what they should be doing and can do. You can't have gatherings of more than 250 people. Unless you are in just a handful of our Cub Scout packs, that should not apply to you. Certainly not for den meetings. Um, and um, and again, this is of course face-to-face gatherings. Um, and so We kind of need to follow this basic rule here about when we are gathering and seated, we've got to be about 6 feet apart. Of course, family members who are not isolating from anybody else can be seated together and should be. Um, they are recommending to churches and other groups to um, mark those 6-foot increments in some way. And if you do serve food and beverages, any items used to hand out those foods should be usually once and discarded. Routine cleaning and disinfection. So, for instance, if y'all are able to meet in a church and you're having a meeting at a big table, they're asking us to sanitize that stuff after we use it. Signage at the entrance. Most places that are allowing scouts to meet inside have that signage. The basic signage says, if you're sick, don't come to this meeting, and stay 6 feet apart, wear a mask, if you're a high risk in a high risk population, maybe stay home. They have gotten much more serious about masks and face coverings in face-to-face meetings. So we are recommending that everyone do that if you meet face-to-face. So that's the basic stuff. That's what the governor's office and the rules that we're kind of living by right now. Challenges, of course, are 6 feet apart, having to ask kids, including little kids, to wear a mask for an hour or so. We know that there are some challenges, and that a lot of our charter organizations, the churches where we often have meetings, in many cases have not opened up yet. What we are seeing across the council is that Cub Scout dens and packs are often having to find alternate locations. And our presenters are going to talk about that some as we move forward. But outdoor meetings are pretty fantastic because it's safer. There's definitely some truth to the fact that indoor meetings are a little more challenging. And so one of the things the council has done, which maybe not everyone knows about, is we have opened up our Goochland property for meetings. So the Goochland property is where the Cub Adventure Camp and Camp T. Brady Saunders is located. And there right now, of course, you can free of charge from now until it gets too cold to go out there. Come out and use the facilities for meetings on weeknights as you need to. We just ask that you folks register to do that and let us know.
I am on a call. Stop.
And then on Saturdays and Sundays, we're letting folks also use the facility, but only for 3 hours at a time without a charge. But we're willing to work with folks to make that happen. We're the open pavilions that we have. There's 3 big ones are open for use in case there's bad weather, and we are trying to steer folks to having outdoor activities as much as possible. Um, so the rest of our workshop is going to mostly be, like I said, people who have been running meetings with kids, talking about what they've been doing. We want discussion, but we also want to get through this by around 8 o'clock. So everyone's got things to do and a schedule. So our goal is to kind of close this out by around 8. So if you have a question, we would love for you to type that question into chat. And a couple of us are going to be monitoring that to try and get everyone's questions answered. If it's something that we would like to answer at the end, we'll save it for an appropriate time during the presentation and just answer it verbally. But if we can type an answer, we'll do that. So, but if something pops in your head, you want to ask a question, please use the chat feature to do that so we can roll through and let our presenters talk. So our first presenter of the night is the Cub Master of Pack 751 in Glen Allen, Virginia. Her name is Corel Harris, and Corel's pack has been doing some exciting things this summer, and I'm going to let her talk about some of the really cool stuff they're doing and what they have planned for the fall. Corel?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Making sure. Okay. And can I share my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. So I wanted to show everyone some of the things that we've been doing with our pack. I'm a new Cub Master, so I only started right when COVID hit. So the first thing that we did, or that I did, was make a Facebook page for our pack. We did not previously have one, and I tried to encourage all of our parents to join. It's still an ongoing affair, but it is a private Facebook page. So it's not open to the public. It's just our families, and they have to be approved in order to join. And after I created the Facebook page, in order to get everybody involved over the summer, we created a passport that we sent out to everyone. And it's a multi-page passport, but this is the awards page at the end. So it gave instructions for the kids to be able to earn their Summertime Pack Activity Award, the Outdoor Activity Award, Messengers of Peace, and also we created our own award that we could to give the kids something to do. We're calling it the Cub Family Superhero Award, and they have to do things on their own, like go to a park or play a new game or go to a farmer's market. And they have until August 31st to complete that. And we are giving them badges that we purchased that are quarantine related to sort of mark the idea that this is all the stuff that they've done in quarantine. This is the second page, and it kind of outlines the dates on the calendar and some of the things that we did over the summer. So for our Outdoor Activity Award, we had our pack advancement we did in the end of June, and that was a drive-through. So we have a local park, and we set up a table, and we invited everybody to decorate their cars if they wanted to. We were all socially distanced and masked up, and the kids jumped out and grabbed their awards. And that was really the first time we had done anything with the pack since everything shut down pack-wide, or system-wide with COVID. And so that was our June activity. Our July activity, we had a virtual fishing derby. And with that, we gave the kids the choice. They could come and hang out with us, and we did an actual fishing derby, a fishing day activity where they could fish with us in person, but they could go fishing with their family as an alternative and post pictures on Facebook, and that would count as getting their July activity. Some kids did both. Some kids only did one. And then for our August activity, we did geocaching. So again, this is an activity they do with their families. It's not something that the pack does together, but we set up a private geocaching scavenger hunt, essentially, and all the kids are invited to do it, and they get a patch for geocaching at the end that is something that we made up. So the passports that that I gave out to everybody, that I emailed out to everybody, there's tons of them online that you can go out and find and then alter to whatever you want to do, like the Tiger Emergency Preparedness Passport or a Tiger Elective Passport. There's stuff for bears, and there's also stuff for planning your year-long activities with your den. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The summer passport that you saw that we gave out, I found that online and went through and customized it to our pack and made it something that we could use. So we have been doing in-person activities. Last night we had our Welcome Back to the Pack meeting. It was in the park and in that same parking lot. And we asked for everybody to be socially distanced. They could wear masks. Again, it was outdoors. The kids did play kickball, and we had an ice cream truck. So the kids were able to form a socially distanced line, and everything was individually packaged. And it was a big success, I think. So we've tried to continue meeting with the pack, and we will continue throughout this school year doing hybrid meetings. We're going to try to meet outdoors as much as we can in the park and do activities, like hiking and things like that, until it gets cooler, and then we most likely will have to switch to virtual meetings. And these are tentative schedule of the things that we have planned for our pack. In September, we're going to do the Rain Gutter Regatta again in the park as either a tailgate or a drive-through. So the parents can either bring their own chairs and sit in the parking spaces and be socially distanced, or they can drive through, and the kids are going to make their own regatta boats, and we'll have the table set up, and the kids can come in and race the boats against a pack boat using a handheld fan, not a straw, to be on the safe side. And then an egg drop, same idea. Virtual Pinewood Derby in November. We plan to set up the track and collect the cars like a day in advance, and then do Facebook Live to our private Facebook group so the kids can watch the Derby and watch their cars race. And then in December and January and February, it's probably going to be too cold, so we'll do online meetings. And then March and April and May, hopefully we can get back to being outdoors. And in December, I think we'll probably sing Christmas carols, and I'm thinking we'll do something like we did with the Summertime Activity Awards, come up with a community service project that the kids can do with their families individually. And then in January, again, something that we can have the kids gather the ingredients to make armpit fudge, and we'll all make armpit fudge while we're sitting on Zoom for a few minutes. So we're still work in progress, but those are the plans. And then we handed out a den meeting schedule, tentative, for all of our dens last night. And we basically plan to do a combination of virtual and in-person meetings. So it's going to be a Zoom meeting where we get part of the requirements done for each adventure, and then one in-person meeting, as long as we are able to meet in person when in the park when it is warm enough. So we have that planned for all of our dens this year. And these are just some ideas of places that you can Google. Scouting to me is all about Googling and seeing what everybody else is doing. There's tons of resources out there if you go look, and lots of willing scouters who want to tell you all about the great things that they've done. And last but not least, I want to give a plug to the Cub Scout Volunteers Facebook group, which is where a lot of this information has come from. They are an amazing resource, and there's like an archive of files that you can access that have principles for anything that you want. And if they don't have it, just ask, and somebody will probably show you something they just made that's completely incredible. So I think scouting is going to be great this year. It's going to be different, but definitely doable. And I know in our pack, we've been excited about some of the opportunities that we've been able to have because there's so many resources online. So thanks so much.
Carol, thank you so much for sharing all that. Charles asked, what was the name of the Facebook group again? Could you read that again?
Yeah, you know what? I'll post the link in the chat, and I have a feeling it's going to get another plug.
I think Wynn has beaten you to the chat already, so it's up there.
Yeah, wonderful.
But y'all can find the link to that Facebook group in the chat. But again, it's Cub Scout Volunteers, all one word, looks like. It's the place to find it on Facebook.
Yeah, and if I'll post my email address in the chat as well. If somebody wants to email me, I'll be happy to give them that page of links if somebody wants it.
All right. Okay, our second presenter for the night is the immediate past Cub Master of Pack 521 in Mechanicsville. And her name is Rebecca Nyauko. And Rebecca's pack has been pretty active this summer. And she's going to talk about visual aids, a little more on virtual meetings. I think you're also going to talk a little about the kind of the youth protection stuff that you need to follow when you're having virtual meetings. So Rebecca, you're up.
Wonderful, thank you. And it might also be my dog that you hear in the background. I apologize. He is a lunatic and is hitting about lunatic time. So if you hear him bark, I apologize. I'll try to manage it. But I do want to talk to you tonight about tips for virtual meetings, visual aids that you can use for your virtual meetings, how youth protection plays out through virtual meetings, and then also some resources that are available to you so that, as Carell said, you are not reinventing the wheel. This is very, very important. We joke a lot. You only have that 1 hour a week. Do not spend it making things from scratch if you absolutely do not have to. So first, I'd just like to talk to you about some tips. And I know my friend Rebecca Martin is on here. She is a silent participant tonight, but she is our Tiger leader at Pack 521. She is phenomenal. She has been running virtual meetings all summer long and had some tips that she wanted to share. And so here we go. Scouts don't want another hour of school. So if you can make these meetings fun for them and engage them and ask them questions and include them in it, that is going to make your meeting so much more successful than if you lecture them for an hour. So make it fun for your scouts. Allow them to say hello, give them some time to share and talk to one another. Make sure you ask them questions. For instance, a den question, what was something that made you laugh today? And then you choose the first scout to answer, they choose the next scout to answer, and so on, so that everyone's included and everyone has an opportunity to speak. Make sure that your parents are with their scouts during your meetings, because aside from youth protection, which is of course paramount, there's also technical issues that pop up every now and then. And sometimes the young scout won't know how to unmute, or they won't know how to put mute back on. And sometimes they need a little help with some behavior, keeping that in check. And of course, they can be your moderators and help explain the adventure to your scouts as well. This is my pro tip. Please be flexible. Plan, of course, because the scout is prepared. That is what we do. But make sure you leave room for things to either change or for discussion. You know, you're going to want to plan things down to the minute because you are an exceptional leader, but you can't get upset if you don't cover everything that you plan to cover, because the whole point is the scouts being happy and learning something from you. That's if you do that, then you have done your best, and your scouts just got an amazing program. So be easy on yourself, be flexible, do your best. And now I'll segue into using virtual aids, because visual aids are incredibly important when you're working with youth. Teachers in elementary school do not just stand in front of the class all day. They show their students things along the way to help them to learn. So I'm going to share my screen, and if you can see it, please let me know. Can anybody see this?
Yes.
Wonderful. So this is a virtual aid. I sort of changed this so that it suits Cub Scouting. My oldest son is almost an Eagle Scout with Troop 521 here in the heart of Virginia Council. And he's also patrol leader and has been running a virtual patrol meeting every week since March. So he's been trying out new technology. This is Google Slides. This is an incredibly easy to use program. It's online, so you can utilize online resources to build your Google Slides. This particular template came from an educator that, again, as Corel said, Google is your friend. And I Googled and Pinterested and found this wonderful template that I was able to work with my son to turn into a patrol meeting, and also now this. So I have a few examples of how you can use this for your dens. This little red box up here in the corner, you might be wondering what that is. When you're in your den meetings, you can have your scouts set it up so that they're only seeing you, or they're only seeing the speaker at one time, as opposed to a grid view. And they can just drop that little window right there so that they can continue to see these little boxes and get the full picture. So for instance, this is just a friendly little welcome page. It's sort of an agenda to help your scouts know what's coming in the meeting ahead for the night. It also keeps you organized, on track, on time. And if you have something, for instance, like this Let's Read section down here, if you had a book or a video of someone reading, then you can just make this a hyperlink and click it, as opposed to having to search for the link that you wanted to use. It's all in one place. Everything is done, organized, and it's colorful and inviting and happy, and your scouts will be excited to see it. So just to give you some examples, I did one for just about every rank. In fact, I think I did do one for every rank. Just for some ideas, you can, if this is your intro meeting, talk about the required and elective adventures, maybe play a game like Pictionary, which can be done over Zoom, talk about the Cub Scout basics, and all of it can be personalized so that it suits your den. Wolf. Bears. Webelos. And oops, I'm sorry, an Arrow of Light. And this is just an idea, keeping things interesting, making it fun, organized, and also sort of cutting down on some of the chaos that is a grid view Zoom meeting that makes it feel like school and less like something fun. And then this can also be done for PAC meetings. So for instance, this is PAC 521's logo. You can put your own logo on there and use this to keep your PAC meetings organized. Let the scouts know what is coming and keep everyone on track. As a retired Cub Master, I know for us, it was really important to have a visual of awards and advancement at our PAC meetings, even when they were in person. And so we always had a slideshow of advancement. This is another opportunity to give a shout out to the scouts that have earned things this month in a way that's interesting. And of course, share pictures from things that you've been doing, or something that, if you have scout homework, we're going on a hike this month, or some of the really cool information that Corel was sharing about passports and things like that. You can share your monthly goals with your dens and with your packs in a visually exciting way. And of course, your opening ceremony cannot be left out. I know that when our virtual patrol meeting started, it was sort of a scramble for a flag that everyone could see. So you can have your American flag for the Pledge of Allegiance, your Cub Scout oath, your Cub Scout law, And so that's just a brief overview of some really cool things that you can do very easily using free resources that are available to everyone on the internet. Google Slides is free, it is easy to use, and the beauty of it is that you can pass these slideshows down to the next leader. So they can continue to be used year after year. They can be worked on as a team. You can have multiple people working on one slideshow at a time. So the burden of pulling together a presentation for an entire PAC meeting, for instance, won't just fall on one person's shoulders. So your Cub Master, your assistant Cub Masters, and your committee chair can all add information, make edits, and update these as you go. So with so much available to you guys online, there really is limitless resources that can make something like this pop and can be personalized for your unit. So you just got to get creative and embrace it. Don't be afraid of this kind of technology, because the kids know how to do it and they'll appreciate that you took some time to try to make it interesting for them. My last tip for visual virtual resources is to do a dry run before your first meeting. So if you're using Google Slides for the first time, or if you're using Zoom for the first time, I would suggest logging in and doing a dry run on your computer or whatever devices you think your families might be logging into. If you have a tablet available to you, try it there as well, to see how it conveys, to see if you need to make changes to any of your materials. You will be grateful for it, especially since sometimes technology can be a little hiccupy and strange. You don't want to have that kind of an issue the day of. So now the real fun stuff. Youth protection. This is so important. As all of you know, this is integral to our program, and it is absolutely no different now that this is virtual. If you are having virtual meetings, it's a little bit trickier, in fact, because we are meeting inside of each Scout's home instead of in a meeting place. So as always, 2 deep leadership is always required. 2 registered adult leaders, 21 years of age or over, are required on screen for all virtual scouting meetings. Lion and tiger dens are required to have parents attend alongside of their scouts. However, it's important for you to encourage parents to attend alongside all of your scouts, regardless of their rank. Any correspondence with the scout must include another registered leader and the scout's parent or legal guardian. Therefore, if a scout sends you a private chat message, which is inevitable, it will happen, you may not respond to it unless their parent is there. Adult leaders are responsible for monitoring the behavior and intervening as necessary. So pay attention, and if you have a leader and an assistant den leader in on the meeting, which is of course required and ideal, then one can be sort of checking in on everybody while the other leads. And as always, cyberbullying is not tolerated in scouting. And again, this is virtual, but it's also in their home. So you need to remember the 3 R's of youth protection. Recognize anyone that could be an abuser. Respond when someone is doing something that goes against your gut or safety guidelines. And report attempted or actual abuse or any activity that you think is wrong to a parent, legal guardian, or other trusted adult. If a scout is telling you that something is wrong at home, call 911 and report it immediately to 1-844-SCOUTS-1, or using the online incident reporting, which is at this link at scouting.org, Health and Safety Incident Report. Next, make sure you reach out to your local scout executive. And of course, you need to make sure that your team is youth protection trained at all times. There's very easy reporting through My Scouting and also through Scoutbook. Encourage youth to complete the Protect Yourself Rules adventures and or their cyber tip. Encourage parents to complete youth protection training, and then also read the Scouting's Barriers to Abuse on scouting.org. Just a few quick do's and don'ts for youth protection. When you are setting up a Zoom meeting, do set up a one-time unique ID when creating your Zoom meetings. Do require a meeting password, and do create a waiting room. This will keep, I'm sure you've heard of hackers dropping in on Zoom meetings and saying or doing something appropriate and leaving. This way you can vouch for every person that's allowed into your meeting, and this is just another layer of protection for your scouts. Do not engage in personal chat conversations with scouts, and do not record your Zoom meetings with your youth. You cannot do that, so make sure that you don't. I know it's going to be something that you'll think will be fun. You can share your den meeting with the rest of the pack. We may not record Zoom meetings with youth. And I'm going to just kind of double back on Corel again. She did such a fantastic job. That Cub Scout Volunteers Facebook group, if you didn't get the link in the chat, you can just search Cub Scout Volunteers. That is a priceless resource for Scouters. I cannot tell you enough how many times I have gone to Cub Scout Volunteers. If I've had a question, if it has been, 10 minutes before my meeting is about to start and I have left something at home, they will save you every time. They have the answers for you that you need. They have a million resources and everyone is happy to help. Please go there, join it. You're gonna love it, I promise. There's also one for Boy Scout volunteers if you're also in a troop. I can't suggest them enough. CubScoutIdeas.com, that is a Scouter blog. She has excellent information, wonderful ideas, lots of cool printables. Please go there. This one is a bit of a shameless plug, but I'm going to put it on here because I have tons of free resources on my own blog. Look Wider Still, including backgrounds, games that you can play virtually in your meetings, like Categories, Pictionary. There's a survival game that teaches scouts how to use breakout rooms in Zoom. All kinds of really fun resources. Everything is free. LookWiderStill.com. Of course, you want to go to myscouting.org for your youth protection training. Make sure you are up to date. And then also reach out to your peers. You have all of us. You should attend Roundtable. When I tell you that Cub Scout Volunteers is priceless, Roundtable is priceless. Make sure that you attend that and that you spend some time with your peers and ask questions and stay up to date. And also just ask for help at any time, any one of us. We are here for you and we are excited for you to have a great year. And then last but not least, you've got this. Do not worry about it, don't sweat it. You have all of the tools available to you to make this a wonderful year. And as a Scouter who is trained, and the fact that you're here tonight, that just means that you are the kind of Scouter that's going to take it and make it great no matter what the circumstances are. You've got this. Do not worry about it. I think that's it.
All right, Rebecca, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing some of your skills with creating visual aids and your experiences with your own Cub Scout pack. It's tremendous. I know we have a few other folks on the call, on the Zoom meeting to chat with. One that I just wanted to, didn't want to put him on the spot, but David Back is in the meeting, and he is Corel's committee chair with PAC 751. Dave, did you have some things you wanted to add?
Sure, I'll just take a minute. In addition to my committee chair hat, I also am currently the Bear Den leader. So I've been going through a lot of this exploration with Corel as we've tried to figure out how best to deliver our scouting program for our Glen Elementary school students. I think that a lot of what Corel and Rebecca touched on already, I would probably just reiterate. I mean, first, do your best. That's the most important thing. The kids are going to appreciate the efforts that you give in presenting a fun program for them. So, but I would also urge you to be flexible. You don't know what you don't know. And we're going to find things that work. We're going to find things that don't work. And as we progress through the scouting year, I think that where we start and where we end are probably going to be a little different. But you know, we definitely want to be flexible with our plans as we go throughout so that we can deliver the best program we can. You know, because one thing that I keep repeating myself is I don't want to make perfection the enemy of good. I try to make sure that you know, go in with some good ideas, but I know that it's not going to be perfect. This isn't going to be the perfect scouting year, and that's okay. We're going to come out and deliver a good program for our kids, and that's the most important thing. The one thing I would touch on as you look through planning some of your agenda for the year is read the requirements in advance. Sit down, go through the Cub Scout handbook for your rank. There are going to be some events that, some requirements that lend themselves very well to Zoom meetings or virtual opportunities, and others don't. And for the ones that don't lend themselves to personal events, you know, we're planning to hold our DEM meetings outside so that it can be as safe as possible. And so try to, you know, going into the year, I have a pretty good idea of which events we're going to be able to do virtually and which events we're going to have to try to do in person. And like that, there's going to be some requirements that the kids are going to have to do independently. So, you know, just letting the parents know what the plans are for each meeting, you know, be far enough ahead so that you can have a good plan as to what things you can do virtually and which things you can do, you know, should do in person. Will help you achieve a level of comfort with the program you're bringing to your den. So, you know, I think that's it. I think Karel did a great job of covering what we have on tap for our pack and for our den. So I'll turn it back to you, Bill.
All right. So we have one more person who's going to speak formally, and that is Wynn Badal. Wynn is our Assistant Council Commissioner for Roundtables. And so Wynn Wynn's in charge of our 7 different monthly roundtable meetings that happen mostly virtually right now across the council. And I'm going to let him talk about a number of things, including upcoming council events, some training events, and of course about Roundtable. Wynn?
Thank you, Bill, and Rebecca, thank you very much for plugging Roundtable. I really appreciate that. I also have just a couple slides I want to share. I'm going to go through them really quickly so we can make sure we spend a little bit of time at the end of the call for you guys to answer questions. And I've got a lot of links in them, but don't worry about it because we're going to get this presentation to you guys so you can take advantage of all the resources. So just one moment, let me get everything teed up here. All right. So, you know, just real quick, in case you haven't heard it, you know, update your PIN on beascout.org. You'll get entered into a drawing for the grand prize is a $500 gift card to scoutshop.org. And I think there are 9 first place prizes that are $100 each. So definitely something that, you know, for as long as it takes to update your PIN, you know, you get entered. So definitely take advantage of that. Your key 3, so your COR, your Scoutmaster, and your committee chair can update this. So if you're not one of those folks for your unit, make sure to mention it to them. Just really quickly, we're still planning on all of the typical things you're gonna see in the fall for Cub Scouts. So the 2 Creepy Hollows, the new for this year, the Creepy Forest out at Albright, also the Lion and Tiger Rally, and then you know, also too, there's still weekend experiences going out at Cub Adventure Camp. So, you know, if you want to do a BB experience or do a nature walk with your den or your pack, that's available out there. In addition, they had one of the National had one of these in August, but they're replaying it in September. It's Family Fun Fest. So it's an online, free morning or early afternoon online experience You don't have to be a registered member of Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts to attend this. So it's actually a good, recruiting vehicle, something that you can share with, you can have scouts share with their friends to give them a flavor of what scouting's like. They are going to do a Pinewood Derby there. So for those of you that are wondering about how to do a Pinewood Derby, or maybe considering doing an online Pinewood Derby, you can kind of get an idea of how they're going to do it. There's a ton of adult training this fall for you guys. It's all for all about adults. So there's YPT that's being instructor led. If you don't like the computer-based approach, we're doing training on the Den Leader experience. This is some training that I'm actually leading in September. So if you haven't used the Den Leader experience app out of Scoutbook, I'd highly encourage you to take a look at it, or come to my training. It's really a effective tool to be able to easily build your scouting calendar. It gives you tips for how to do a den meeting. It's great for communicating with parents. So it's a great tool to have in your toolbox. And then of course there's all sorts of other training going on, including Baloo. And I also heard that in September and October, and then even in November, I hear Cardinal District is looking to do a Baloo event. So lots of training that's available for you guys. Roundtables. First week of every month, each district holds a roundtable. So there's 7 different opportunities to come and learn. Each district does something a little bit different. So if I would suggest touring around and finding the roundtable that you like the best, because you're not obligated to necessarily go to the roundtable in your district. So if you find one that's on a better night for you, or whatever it be, please come check us out, because you're all welcome. And there's always good fellowship there. Even socially distanced or over Zoom, we're still getting together, and we're here to answer questions and help you deliver your best scouting program. Just to kind of give you an example here, not only am I the council commissioner for Roundtable, I'm also the Roundtable commissioner for the Cardinal District. So to give you a sense, over the next couple months, this is what my district is going to be talking about. So we've got Cub camping. In October, we're going to talk about Journey to Excellence, because there are some changes this year, particularly with how we record service hours that we want to talk to you about. And of course, November is dedicated to Recharter. We're going to talk about blue and gold banquets, and then Pinewood Derbies and so forth. So whether it's your own home district roundtable, or if it's another, or you're always welcome to come to mine. So just look for us on the council calendar. We're right there. One thing I wanted to share with you guys that just came out, so this is super fresh, is the Cub Scout Adventure video resources. And once again, you'll get this link. It's a landing page for all sorts of tips and tricks for den leaders. It's got some tutorials for Scoutbook and Den Leader experience. It's got crowdsourced videos about how to do adventures per rank. So it's a super huge tool for helping you guys build your program, taking some of the pressure off to deliver content. And as a way to also, I think, get some adventures out so parents can also start working on these with your scouts as well. So like I said, this is really new, and we'll get you this link out after the call here. And then I've just got a whole bunch of curated links that I've run across in my travels and trying to come up with roundtable content that I'll share with you guys as well. So this is really what I've got for you guys tonight. Once again, appreciate you guys coming on and joining us and spending some time with us. And at this point, we just want to open up the floor for questions.
So we had two that we probably need to mention in chat. Jennifer has a small den, girls, Weeblo twos, and she's struggling to get parents to help out. She's willing to do face-to-face backyard meetings, but parents aren't really willing to jump in and be that second adult leader. And she's worried about how is she going to keep the parents and the girls interested and engaged until they bridge up to Scouts BSA next spring. Any thoughts? Offhand, one thing I would say is see if they're willing to come out and do something that doesn't feel like a meeting first. Maybe have something that kind of kicks off the program year. One thought would be, let's all gather at Cub Camp, or if you want something more local, even a local hiking trail. Parent and a scout, and let's do a den hike. Socially distance, wear masks, but let's just do a den hike and have fun for a few hours, maybe on a Saturday, or if it's right now, even a weeknight could work. And see if parents would come out for that. And that might be an easy way to do something fun outdoors. It's not virtual, it's real. And, just getting back in the swing of things with school starting, and make it feel a little more normal. Because a lot of dens have a summertime, they just kind of don't meet in the summer that much. And you want to kind of kick things off. And maybe during that, have a conversation with parents about, hey, we could maybe have some meetings in the backyard, and I just need to make sure that a parent stays and participates. I mean, they're Weeblo twos, so it's a little different, but that might be my suggestion for you, Jennifer.
That's a great suggestion. I would also say have the confidence to ask directly for help, and you'll know your parents and you'll know your scouts, and if a parent has certain talents and that, ask them for some help, include them, find something that is interesting to them that you can get their help in, and just remind your parents that leadership in any form in a unit means so much to their own scout. My two sons were so excited when I took on a leadership role. They were just thrilled, and it made my experience that much more fulfilling for me even. So get them invested a little bit, find what they're interested in, find what their talents are, and then recruit them to help with adventures that suit those particular skills. And that's just an instant leader. And just continue to encourage them to answer questions if scouts have questions, because as den leaders and assistant leaders, you don't know everything about every adventure. Scouts are gonna ask you a question that you just simply don't know the answer to. Defer to a parent and let them know that they're important to the way that your den is running and the way that your pack runs, and that their input and their talents are important to their scout success. And just ask.
I actually am a former district executive for the council. So, I mean, I have a lot of resources and I know a lot of things, but I work in Glen Allen, or my unit. So I have a lot of the Indian population, and it's hard to get the adults engaged. That's my bugaboo. My people that were engaged kind of stepped back because of jobs, which I get, but I can't seem to bridge that gap. And I mean, I'm a trained executive. So thank you for the advice. I mean, I can go into an audience and pick who I should train, but I can't do that when they're not willing.
Yeah, you got a challenge there, Jennifer. And I would focus it on making sure that perhaps all the activities are parent-child. There's a parent's got to come to all the stuff, and maybe that's the way to do it. So then too deep leadership isn't really an issue.
what I've often done is pair up with the boys because there's always a boy leader, you know what I mean? But I've always tried to do the girl thing on the own because it was exciting because it wasn't there when I was with you all. But it's frustrating because I can't get the other Indian families involved.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Sure thing. And then Sonia had a question about Zoom licenses. And she mentioned that the Girl Scouts are, I think, offering Zoom licenses to, is it to their scout leaders, Sonia? Is that correct?
Sorry. So the thing I saw on Facebook today said that they were offering it to the, I'm sorry. It said that they were offering it to the actual units for $36 a year. So that way they could have virtual meetings.
That sounds like a deal maybe they've worked out with the nationally, because that is a substantial discount from what I'm aware of. You know, I'm gonna let others talk about it. Right now, I know for a fact the National Council is probably not going to be offering any kind of national, you know, opportunity like that, unless they work out a deal and, you know, kind of pass those costs along. 36 is a great deal. But they haven't done that. And I'm not sure if that will happen or not. A little leery of planning on it. The council, you know, we've been surviving with actually 2 paid Zoom accounts for the council staff and some of the key volunteer groups that we use. And so what we found though is, in general, a lot of people surprisingly have Zoom accounts that you wouldn't think have them. They either have them because of work, or they have them because they just, you know, wanted to use it. And so you know, if you buy the monthly deal, it's $15 a month. If you want to do it by the year, it's $120 for a year, so a slight discount there. In most cases, you know, what we're seeing is, you know, even if it's one Zoom account that a number of folks are sharing, it still works. Our recommendation right now is that, you know, if the unit has the wherewithal to purchase a unit Zoom account, we recommend you do it. A lot of units, frankly, ended, you know, the year ended in March for us. And we're seeing a lot of units who have some funds in their unit checking account, and they might be using, this might be a great way to use that for a pretty valuable purpose. So we are making that recommendation. Thanks for that. Let me know about that, Sonia. I will reach out to my counterparts at the National BSA office and shame them and see if I can get them to work out a sweet deal for us too. Because 36 is way cheaper than 120. How are, for the rest of y'all who are doing virtual meetings right now, how are you, who's covering the Zoom account cost for you?
I actually did a merit badge class, and I had to do a Zoom account, so I just did it on my personal one and paid for it. And I've kept it up just in case we use it for the scouting year rather than using Google Meet.
Right.
Yeah, I do. I'm very active with PTA. I'm on local unit and I'm also on county council PTA. So I already had a paid one. So then when everything started happening, it just, Scouts got added to the list to get used for.
Yep. So if this is a struggle for you, ask around in your den, in your pack, and see if there is someone who's got a paid Zoom account who would be willing to let you use it. Can you run den meetings with a free Zoom account? You can. but it's not as great because you got a 40-minute limit. Although sometimes they're letting it go longer, sometimes they're not. There was a period of time where they had removed that limitation, and then it came back, and I'm really not sure exactly how long you get on the free account now. But the 40 minutes is about what a first grader can stand. So don't be afraid to try it out, even if you just have a free account. Free accounts work. I use a free account for personal stuff, and haven't had a problem, any kind of problems with it. I will say that I kind of feel like now in our office, I'm sort of the person that everyone goes to with Zoom questions. But in March, I had never used the platform before. No one trained me. I just went to the Zoom website and watched videos and then used it. And, so if you've got some fears about, this new program and using it, just get in there and try. It's really not that hard. I do really recommend Zoom though, because it is super user intuitive. There's lots of other video conferencing platforms out there, some that are more free and offer a lot more time to run meetings. But Zoom just is the easiest to use. And so anyway, I hope that helps if anyone was a little unsure about using Zoom or what to use. Other questions you have? I really haven't seen a lot of burning issues in, there's a whole lot of blue questions in chat, but I'm a little more worried about your concern with den meetings and that kind of thing. So who has den meeting questions? And just shout them out.
I have a question. I have a den. I do not know how many scouts I have at this point. This will be our 3rd year. It's a girl den, and it's multi-grade.
Okay.
When we started, we had about 10 scouts. Unfortunately, when we started, we knew that 2 were going to move away. Then we lost an additional 2 to attrition. Life happened to the family, and they just didn't have time. And then some bridged out, and then some just moved on. So right now, I think we have 3 scouts. But the way our pack does it, all girls go into one den. So I'm covering Lion through Webelos. Again, just through attrition. Right now, I'm only dealing with 2 4th grade girls and probably a kindergarten 1st grade girl. I shouldn't say dealing with, I adore these girls, they're wonderful, but dealing with planning the meeting. Does anybody know how to plan across such a large group? I've heard before, I heard earlier, try and group the 4th and 5th graders. I've done that. Try and group the 2nd and 3rd, try and group the 1st and 2nd. But their parents don't always show up. So if I don't have, how do I get even, I've got a large spreadsheet that shows where there's common ground across grades. And I usually only have like a 2nd through a 5th grade range. But how do you do that when you have 1 kid in each grade? So you've got 4 kids, each in a different grade, each doing something slightly different. And I've done my best, and we've gotten through. For 2 years, we have managed to get all of them to touch on all the bases. The younger kids had to age up a little. The older kids had to help the younger kids. But I've had parents, just bring work and set themselves up with their laptop. And I look at them and I say, I need you to stop your child from running around. And they say, why? That is kind of across multiple grades. Does that exist?
So Maureen, you've got a unique den there. And we do have some lesson plans for, it's called Cub Scouts 1, 2, 3. and it's designed for some folks who are who are doing multi-age dens. And so I'm going to give you an email address and a name. One of our executives here, his name William Hawkins, and his email address is william.hawkins, spelled like it's supposed to be spelled, at scouting.org. And if you email William and ask him for Cub Scouts 1, 2, 3, he will send you that document. Now, it's not going to solve all your problems. And honestly, if you've been running a den like that for 3 years, you might be our council's expert on that sort of thing right now. And I know you don't want to be, I'm sorry, but I'm sure other folks in this room don't have the same experiences.
I'm a bureaucrat, not a den leader.
So Maureen, I'm going to pause the recording because I'm going to say things that I don't want to have recorded right now.
Maureen.
And it also
I
does
did
sort of
wanna-
depend a little bit on your chartering organization as well. So you will need to have a conversation with them. Our chartering organization they actually broached it with us in a meeting that we had with them. They were like, well, are boys and girls going to be together? Because that's fine. We were like, well, okay. You made that a little bit easier for us as far as gnawing on that decision and what we were going to do, because your issue is very common. I'm sorry, Carell.
Oh, that's okay. The only thing I wanted to add, one thing that you said was getting the parents involved and then also planning for your multi-gen den. You don't know how, who's going to show up. You prepare this program and then you don't know, are the kindergartners going to come or the first graders going to come? One suggestion that we haven't really talked about, and I read this today on some Scout forum, when you send out the meeting notifications, don't send out the link to Zoom until the parents reply and say, yes, we're going to come. And that way, in theory, I mean, they could always not show up, but that way you have a little better idea of who's going to come, and, you can plan a little bit better and tailor your presentation if you know, especially in that situation, because you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, and, maybe that might help a little bit.
Yeah, when you set up a Zoom meeting, you can set it up so they have to register. And so that I've seen a lot do that, and that might help plan too.
Okay. All right. Other questions, other topics on meeting virtually or meeting face-to-face in the current COVID environment? Okay. Well, it is 8:13, and that is later than I had planned on keeping all of you. I think hopefully you got some names and maybe some email addresses of people who you could reach out to if you have other questions. We absolutely appreciate your involvement in this. Rebecca totally stole, at the end of her presentation, she totally stole my thunder on the "you can do this" message, because that's what we want to close with. We want to close with the fact that this is something we can accomplish. We can actually have meetings with kids and have fun meetings with kids, whether they're virtual or face-to-face, 6 feet apart. We are in a unique situation where there's a lot of organizations that aren't meeting at all with kids that normally do. And here we are trying to figure out how to make sure that they're getting a good scouting program. We can do this, and we can make it fun. And I think parents really want this for their kids. They want to see their kids interacting with their friends, learning values, hopefully going outdoors and doing some outdoor activities. And I just want to thank everyone for your dedication, your involvement, and for your willingness to learn new ideas and try some new things. That said, we're adjourned. Thank you all so much. I'm going to hang out here and answer a few chat messages I got for the next 5 minutes. And if you want to chat a little bit, great. But this is the end of our formal presentation. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Now I got a private message from someone and they left. Has anyone taken Blue recently? No. A guy asked if we could accommodate him in his wheelchair for the Blue training. I think we can. I just don't know if
Hey, Bill.
yeah.
I've responded to him personally on via private message, told him to email the district,
Okay.
and we would work with him on Baloo and see what his needs are and see how we can respond to that.
Yeah, he said he was going to have knee surgery in October, but wanted
Correct.
to take Blue training later in the year. So
I would think it depends on where they're doing it. Like if it was at camp, when we did it at camp, you could accommodate that.
right.
But depending on what church, I mean, most churches would accommodate, you know, I mean, I would think it would be accommodable. I can't even say the word, that you could accommodate
Yeah.
that.
Right.
If that makes sense. Almost any business has to be able to be wheelchair friendly.
I still wouldn't. I
It's
mean,
going to
he
be a
just had knee
benefit
surgery.
district scouter.
I would encourage him to wait.
It's going to be a benefit district scouter. We're going to work with him on the accommodation as needed. I just need to know what kind of accommodation he needs, and that's why I told him email the district.
All right.
But Baloo does stay, like I did it back when I was an executive. I'm still legit, correct? I mean,
Yeah, it never goes away.
I would brush up on certain things, you know, like you want to know the safety of where, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I thought it was legit.
Yep.
Yeah, Jennifer Corsi, YPT, and all the other Guided State Scouting has been updated, but your Baloo is still good.
Right. You know, I mean, there's certain